season, the funniest guys in baseball
Just take a deep breath and let it rip.
are back
Mr. Buzz got nailed by that missile.
in a completely different league.
Please, send me one real baseball player. And if you can't, you might as well just strike me dead.
They're just 9 players short of a dream team.
You are out of here!
They're not just your normal players.
The hood helps Serrano focus. Hell, all I know is it looks dumb as hell, and he has to be led up to home plate.
They train different.
Could have been called for unnecessary roughness on that one.
They run different.
Lance the Dance scores on what appears to be a double sow cow and a triple axle thrown into.
And they catch different.
I like Pops next stretch.
There are 2 kinds of baseball. There's big league, and then there's little league.
That smells a little bit like a challenge.
You can either play the buzz, you can have the entire world of baseball call you a coward.
I'm gonna give you the beating of your life.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, we will.
These guys are just crazy enough
We're gonna leap like a gazelle.
to try something crazy.
Let's go out there and take a bite out of the big team's ass. I want you to hit the ball into another zip code.
Yes, sir.
Major League, back to the minors.
So much for beating them in a submission.
The Diamond has never been so rough.
Get the trainer. Better bring a bag of ice.
Welcome to They Called Us a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Called Us a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCDAM Pod. We are also now a proud member of Geek Vibes Nation, and you could find them at gvnation.com. Welcome back to They Called Us a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen, and please refrain from making any jokes about Jada Pinkett Smith.
Hello, friends.
Damn. Okay.
We can't have Will Smith knocking on your door, man.
He is from Philly, Mark, so this is a very real possibility.
I mean, we could talk it out. I could show him some Johns, and he could, decide if he likes them, and then we can go to the plateau.
Cheesesteaks, is that a thing? Is that still a Philly thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Cheesesteaks are still a Philly thing, Dan.
I didn't know if you guys gave that up or not.
Nope. So before we get into this week's movie, gentlemen, what have you watched this week? Anything?
Yeah, I watched nothing crazy. I watched the first episode of the Halo series on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's first episode, and they're releasing one every week.
Dan, can I ask you a question before you get into it?
Absolutely not. No, go ahead. No, please do.
Do you pay for Paramount Plus?
I'll never tell.
It's I honestly, now I'm not criticizing you if you are, but I don't. That's one of the ones that I'm like, I don't rarely hear people talk about having. Is the reason
I do not pay for it. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will tell you.
I will never pay for that garbage platform.
It is the worst platform I've ever been a witness to.
It's
terrible.
Yeah, it's anti-user friendly. The opposite of user friendly.
It's slow. Half the time the movies won't load. Awful.
Yeah, it's so bad. I was surprised I got to watch the first episode of Halo without incident twice, because I watched it once by myself and once with Jen. She wanted to watch it, but again, first episode, so I don't want to be too harsh on it, but not great start, I would say. The special effects look like they're pulled straight out of the Xbox game themselves. Not saying they're terrible, but for a big budget production, I expected better. I'm interested in seeing where the story goes, but I wasn't really impressed. I'll say that. So
So what you're saying is it's the second best CGI / green screen you watched this week.
yes, yes, I have. I definitely have some notes about that. And I also watched on HBO Max. Our Flag Means Death.
Okay.
And yeah, very funny. It's I think it's like a pirate spoof. Some really good actors in it. I believe Taika Waititi is the executive producer on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Jen and I watched the first 3 episodes of it, and I was laughing my ass off. So if you have HBO Max, I would highly recommend watching that. I think you guys would enjoy it at least.
Yeah, I've read good things about it. I know Tycho was part of it, and I know Reese Darby, who was in Flight of the Conchords, is part of it too.
Yes.
Who I always like. So I've been interested in that, but I haven't checked it out yet.
And,
I actually
yeah,
didn't
but
even
that's it for
realize.
me.
Okay, I didn't realize the Halo series came out yet. That's not in my field of vision, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that it's on Paramount Plus, it's also Halo, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I think it's more. I was interested in. I wanted to see how everything looked, and obviously, I like the Halo games, having played with our group of friends and all that. So I was interested in just checking it out. And Steven Spielberg is a producer on it. And I think he's been dying to get a Halo movie or series off the ground for quite a while. And it was cool to see Master Chief in live action. I forget. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Pablo.
I thought you were talking about John Halo.
Yeah, John
Halo
Halo.
Man.
Pablo Schreiber.
Schreiber, yeah.
Schreiber, yeah, he's Master Chief. Yeah, I like him. He's a good actor. I think I first saw him in Orange Is the New Black, right? He was Mustache.
Yep, Pornstache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a solid actor. I like him. He's in talks to be Wolverine for
I saw that
for Marvel, and I'm not going to be a purist here. He's too tall.
It's got to be Hugh Jackman, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes. No, it has to be someone who's 5'2". If it's not someone who's 5'2", I riot. Okay.
It's got to be a short king. Got it.
Got to be a short king. No,
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. That's right. If Pablo Schreiber were to become Wolverine, I would be excited for it. I like him.
Okay, cool. All right, what about you, Mark? Anything?
No, just I didn't watch anything this week. I just have one thing, since I can talk one slight thing about the Batman, that because Tia was here last week, I didn't. I just want to ask Dan, because one of the parts that I laughed out loud, and I was the only one that didn't in the theater, was when they were interrogating the Penguin, and he shows them the picture, and the Penguin in his accent goes, "What are you showing me that for?"
Come on.
I think it's supposed to be serious and intense, but just the thickness of the accent, I just busted out laughing in the middle of my movie theater at it.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually looking forward to the Penguin HBO Max series. I'm interested to see what they do with that character and how how Colin Farrell continues that role.
Yeah, it was just there were other scenes that people chuckled at that I don't think they were being funny, but that was the only thing that I literally had to laugh and then felt like all the eyes were looking at me in the theater.
It was funny. That got some laughs at my screen.
Okay, maybe I was at a bad screening, but
man.
that was really good. But anyway, cool. Yep, I have not watched anything this week. And looking forward to the Penguin series, as Dan had mentioned.
Okay. As for me, I've only watched a couple of things this week. In terms of movies, the only thing I watched this week was the movie Fresh, which is on Hulu. Stars Sebastian Stan as a creep. I don't want to get too much into it because
Tommy Lee himself.
Yeah,
I think most of the things are spoilers, but it's pretty good. I watched it because Halloween is Forever did an episode on it a couple of weeks ago. Figured I'd check it out. It was interesting. I'd give it a watch. It's pretty quick and a fascinating story. Besides that, my wife has watched, and I've been in the room for it. So it's become my guilty pleasure of the week has been the second season of Bridgerton, and there's far less fucking going on, which is a disappointment. But it's not a terrible watch.
How does that happen, right? How do you take the best part of a show and just limit that?
Yeah. You remove the sexy dude in it, and you're like, all right, well, let's try and build around everybody else, I suppose.
Well, wait, this isn't everyone sexy? I thought that was like the whole thing.
Right, but the what's his name? The Roger or whatever his name is, that was the big star from last year, isn't in it this season.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because
Not every series can be Euphoria. So
right, that's true. But yeah, that's it. That's it this week. Because we're already like on episode 7 or 8 of 8, so that's been our watching. And yeah, a lot of stuff going around just around the house, so I haven't gotten a chance to watch, and I started playing some video games instead of watching. But that's not for this podcast. That's it's the wrong podcast to talk about.
Is that an offer to be the third channel in the other podcast?
Oh God, no! I mean, I don't have to edit that, so maybe if you need it. But no, I'm not trying to weasel my way in.
No, we have plans anyway. But
good. I'm glad.
Honestly, one podcast I think is the max for most people, right? Multiple podcasts.
2 podcasts and 3 streams a week is what you're saying.
When I was on 2 podcasts, I did barely. First of all, I've done no work on any of the podcasts.
I mean, there was points where you were on 3 podcasts at once, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Did the MCU ever cross over with Stranger Damies? I'm sure it did.
It might have, but again, I did no work on
didn't
that.
do any work.
But not out of not wanting to do it. I just no one was like, yeah, Dan, you do this.
Dan just coasts through life, having other people do all the podcast work for him.
But just out of sheer luck, sheer stupid luck. It's never been out of I don't want to do it. It's just been someone else had volunteered that that honor.
You ever think it's just because no one trusts you on the technical side of things?
Oh, I don't trust myself. I can barely get my microphone to work.
Everybody else is like, we got it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, Dan. Yeah. No.
You just show up and we'll handle the rest. Good boy.
Yeah. All right, that's all I watched this week. Not much, but we're going to take a quick break so you can list some ads so we can pay those bills. And we'll be back in a second. And welcome back. Now it's time to get into this week's movie. And this week was our March movie of the month. And we decided to go baseball movies. So we pitted against each other. We pitted Mr. 3000, which was Dan's pick. Mark's pick, which was Summer Catch, which unfortunately did not win. And that means it has to retire until...
You let me down, FPJ. You let me down.
And
yeah, not even a like. Not even a like.
And POTUS, right?
Yeah.
Then
Joe Biden didn't like anything.
I think his
that was a sign.
His mind is a little preoccupied. Can you imagine if like I have to take a break from trying to end a war to vote on this podcast's movie?
Yeah, don't think I won't remember this in 2024 there, Sleepy Joe.
Yep.
That
would be a great reason. Oh, he lost by 1 vote. Well, should have picked Summer Catch.
Yeah.
And then the third one was the one that won in a runoff vote because it tied with Mr. 3000 was Major League Back to the Minors. And this was my pick from 1998. And I've seen this movie plenty of times. I think I've rented it a couple of times and watched it at least 2-3 times, probably on HBO in the late 90s a couple of times. And I thought I was going to hate this movie because the things that I remember very distinctly is the terrible CG baseball effects and the green screen shots that they apparently stole from the previous 2 movies. But I kind of enjoyed myself with this movie. It's not very good, but what I like about it is how determined it is to not sweat the small stuff. And what I mean by that is that it starts quick. You know, you see Scott Bakula throw 2 pitches and then we're off and he's done playing, and then now all of a sudden he's coaching, and we know we need to bring Tanaka into this movie, and we need to bring Serrano into this, but do we need to think of a logical way why these guys get in here? No.
Yeah, they
Tanaka
just show
for some reason. Tanaka for some reason is running a miniature golf course in a random place that they were driving past, and Scott Bakula just assumes it's Tanaka, and sure enough, it is. I think the biggest thing that is a detriment to this movie is the fact that it has the Major League label on it. If it wasn't, if it was just a baseball movie, obviously you would lose this Pedro Serrano, you would lose Tanaka, you would lose Rube and Corbin Burnson. But it's fun. It's very minor league baseball. It feels like a minor league baseball game. You know, you forget that whether or not they play 7 innings or 9 innings, and you go home. You didn't really care who won or who lost, and you probably didn't watch a whole lot of the game. That's
just drinking.
That's basically what it's like to be at a minor league baseball game, and that's basically what this movie is. It's feeling like you're at a minor league game. We've got minor league Rene Russo. We've got we've got Ted McGinley, who's kind of great in this movie. He's maybe drunk.
He's on some kind of substance.
He's very sitcom-y in this movie, and I kind of appreciate it. Yeah, I don't dislike this movie. I'll just say that. Where are you guys coming from? Dan, let's start with you.
Yeah, I've seen this movie if not 10 times, close to 10 times.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a lot.
I like this movie because for the reasons that you stated, how they don't care to mention any specifics, really. A lot of
it's like it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
It's, how did Pedro Serrano know to show up? Doesn't matter. Why is Tanaka where are they? In Florida? Right? I think they're in Florida. Why is Tanaka?
I'm not even 100% sure.
Yeah, like why is Tanaka there? Doesn't matter. You know, how does everyone know Gus? Doesn't matter. I like that about this, where it just wants to be a baseball movie. It kind of skips a major plot. You know, there's no like love interest really. Like in the first Major League, right? Tom Berenger is trying to get Rene Russo, and that's really the heart of the story. While you're following a washed up catcher and then 2 up and coming baseball players, Wesley Snipes and Charlie Sheen. And then the second one, obviously going more goofy, but still has the same overall plot now. Hey, this team just wants to win. This is just for fun. This is, you know, let's get that minor league feel, like you were saying. Yeah, I remembered way more of this movie than I thought I would. I was quoting parts here and there. A little racist, this movie is. Just a tad racist.
You think?
Yeah, a little more than I was comfortable. It's like, ooh, yeah, I don't remember it being this way. But, you know, hey, listen, I don't know how to, you know, you can't justify it, obviously. Like, oh, it was a different time. When did this come out? 2000?
97.
Oh, was it 97? Yeah. Wow. Okay, so, all right. Yeah, I like this movie. I still had a good time with it. I enjoy Scott Bakula as the perennial, like, aging superstar, right?
Sure.
He's in Unnecessary Roughness, right? He was a big-time football player.
Yep.
Could have made it, but wasn't necessarily good enough, got old. Same thing here. You know, he's kind of like everybody's dad. Scott Bakula, everybody's dad.
Yeah, sure. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so I've seen this movie a few times. I've probably seen the second one the most out of any major leagues, and probably way more than I can count. So the first thing that I noticed right off the bat is that, you know, I maybe from watching the first 2 more, I was expecting a little more structure, if that makes sense, in terms of like story and things kind of making a little more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you quickly get over that after a while and just have fun with it. The one interesting thing is this is the first time I've seen this since I covered minor league baseball and back in a previous career. And a lot of the setup of the clubhouse and like the interactions between the players, outside of the goofiness, I'm talking more, you know, when the pitchers are talking and they're teaching each other things and stuff. There's a lot of stuff I saw in the clubhouse. And the funny thing is, I didn't have as much of a problem with the Gus stuff because there are plenty of guys in the minors that make really good friends with each other. And some of them go to the majors and some of them just wash out in the minors, but they always stay in contact. And you see them talking to each other, and I'm getting updates from of the guys going up from those guys. So the fact that Gus probably crossed paths with Serrano at some point in the Indians minor league system would make a lot of sense. The only thing that slightly doesn't make sense age-wise is I think he would have known Doc. Not Doc, Pops. Yeah, at some point, and they don't seem to know each other. So that was the only, in terms of that stuff, the one where I was like, okay, like they could have made that like they were old teammates or something, and thing. But yeah, I did enjoy this movie. I love to say I think the last act of the movie, like the final game, was a little less dramatic than I'm used to with these types of movies. It just sort of ends. I mean, it has a big dramatic moment. There's a little bit of a build up and a little bit of a payoff, but it's not like the end of either one or two, which is much more dramatic outside of it being, MLB stuff. But, I think it would have been a slight making it a little bit better would have been if, instead of him pulling and hitting that home run, if he actually, hit it using the opposite field as he's been taught.
Right.
I that would have been a more full, closing of that story. But him hitting the home run was great. I love the atmosphere, as you said, of the minor league park at the end. I like that in 3 movies, Corbin Burnson plays 3 different versions of Roger Dorn.
He does. He really does.
They are completely different from one another. And it's just funny to me. It's just basically they're just paying for the actor.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you're Roger Dorn. This time we want you to be a confident GM.
Right. Someone who really cares about baseball.
Yeah. I think I'm still laughing in my head. Think of the comment Ant made earlier about calling her like knockoff Rene Russo, the girl, because they do everything they can to sort of give the same vibe of that girl. And the one unrealistic thing in this movie, in terms of, I guess they wanted to get Rube to have some kind of connection, is that a catcher with those kind of problems would not have still been in minor league baseball.
Yeah, probably not.
At that point, like doing simple things, he's failing at.
And also the problem is that team seems to only have one catcher. So Rube is catching every single game.
And being terrible.
He's probably like 40 years old at that point. He'd be dead.
Yeah. The one thing I think we talked about in comments was about the one guy making it all the way to AAA with just one pitch.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, in the way the minor leagues work, if you have one dominant skill, they will keep calling you up in the hopes that you learn other stuff. And AAA is usually the stopping point. It's like, okay, he's not going to learn. We either got to cut him or change his position.
Or he'll just rot away in the minor.
Yeah.
Turn him into a reliever.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, I just always think of the story that I got to follow with Jason Mott is the fact that he made it all the way up to AAA because he was a tremendous defensive catcher, but he couldn't hit over 150. So they eventually sent him back all the way down the ladder because he could throw 98 miles an hour. So they turned him into a pitcher. So when you guys mentioned that, there's no way this guy can make it all the way, I'm like, that happens sometimes. They just hope that the other part comes along. But I did like the yin and yang of Hogg and Doc in terms of pitching. I thought that was a pretty good touch in this movie. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thought I would regret and really dislike it like Ant said. Outside of a lot of the, semi-objectionable stuff, because it was a different time. That's not even much of an excuse for it, but, it's definitely a lot of stuff wouldn't have been done in 2021. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, Mark, you say that these guys would make it, through to AAA at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to call bullshit on that because not a single person in this movie can throw an actual baseball.
Oh, yeah, okay. The characters they're based on.
I don't think a ball was ever really touched in this movie.
I think Rube's bad throws are that actor actually throwing the baseball.
I could see that. Yeah, poorly throwing.
Yeah.
You know what I liked about these movies? I was just thinking about it. This trilogy. You have 3 different movies with 3 different endings on how the teams win. Right, you have a walk-off bunt single, then you have you have a big strikeout from Vaughn, right? And then in this one, you get the walk-off homer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you get a good amount of diversity there.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You get to see the game for all its glory.
Yeah, there were a couple moments in this movie where they tried to recall things from the previous movie, like the pitcher wanting to pitch to Carlos. You know, it's like the end of the second movie.
Sure.
You know, and they do a couple other callbacks. Like the Jobu stuff was completely unnecessary in this movie.
Now, it's Jobu, right? Through the first 2 movies?
I think so.
Jobu,
I'm going by the captions, and I may have misheard it when I was younger.
Says he does
he
say
said
Jobu in this.
Does he? I thought he said Jobu.
Does, but I had to Google. I Googled Jobu first to see if anything popped up. Nothing popped up. But as soon as you type in Jobu, everything comes up. So
is this like a Bernstein Bears thing?
It might be a Mandela effect sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm so ingrained to hear Jobu that he could have said anything, and I would just, it's Jobu.
Well, I didn't think of it until I saw it, because I think the captions were like a second or so ahead of it, so I was able to see it say Jobu. I was like, what? Jobu?
Maybe,
what the fuck's this? And
maybe
I was
hoping doing the closed captioning didn't know what he said.
Maybe.
Jobu. That sounds fine.
Maybe. One thing I like about this, because like it does the whole thing where, like the other 2 movies, where everyone's got their little their quirks, and in this movie they immediately solve them. But like they
don't have time to
not wasting
focus
time
on them.
Like this isn't what this movie's about. Movie is going to be about Ted McGinley versus Scott Bakula, but we got to throw these in. So these 2 guys can't stop fighting over the ball up the middle. So we're going to solve that in the very next scene. We had Rube can't throw. All of a sudden, he's gonna have, like, if you can't throw down to second, then you're gonna get cut. Like, oh well, then that ends that little thread. Perfect.
And imagine a minor league coach was able to do what a major league coach couldn't do.
Yeah, and even Downtown goes up to the majors for a scene, and he's back. Like they skip ahead like 2 weeks, and he's like, oh nope, I'm back. I missed all of 2 minutes of this movie.
And the way that they handle the how things are, like the transactions, like there's the scene where Scott Bakula is having lunch or dinner with Corbin Burnson, and Burnson is like, Huff wants Downtown to come up. It's not the manager's decision only. Like he can request someone, but there are other people.
Again, that's this movie saying it doesn't matter.
Right. Is like maybe Bill Belichick is like the only coach who really like runs the organization.
Well, he's technically the general manager too.
Is he?
Yeah, I think. But I get your point.
Yeah, how many managers just like, I'm just gonna like bring up this guy. However, well, like, whoa, hold on, man, slow your roll. You can like, we're keeping an eye on him, and we'll let you know when he's ready.
I would assume in his heyday, La Russa and Torre probably had that kind of pull.
Maybe with the way that teams want to control their younger players, I think there's probably a lot of people in the upper management who are keeping track of that stuff, I would imagine. But again, like, as Anthony was saying, there's no time for any of that. There's no time for realism.
Like, did Roger Dorn go and sign Serrano and Tanaka? Like,
yeah, that's what, I have that written down. People can't just walk on to AAA teams. You're like, I'm going to play now. That's not how it works, man.
Yeah. But what about Bakula, Gus? He hops off a plane and goes as he takes on the job, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're an hour till game time. we brought your uniform."
Hasn't had a chance to meet the team.
Nope.
It's like, here you go, figure it out. But like you said, that kind of feels like something a minor league team would do, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, here you go, man.
And these are not AAA stadiums. That's for damn sure.
No. Yeah, this would be lower minor league, where all this stuff could happen.
Yeah.
AAA, no.
I'm gonna sound like I'm like self-congratulating myself here, but I played in D3 stadiums that were nicer than that. That was kind of like a rec league park.
Oh man, look at the athlete over here, Ant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
do.
I know.
Seeing as Mr. Athlete, I do have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
I want you to rate Walton Goggins' swing.
Oh, I have written down that even at this point in his career, he's still acting circles around everybody.
Sure.
And it was easy to see why he's pretty much the only one who came out of this unscathed. Not a great swing. Not a great swing, in my opinion. He moves his back foot a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say he falls into the zone on that back foot an awful lot.
Yeah, he moves his back foot a lot. Even when they show him hitting off the tee, his swing is just all over the place, and he has no balance whatsoever. Yeah. But I mean, out of all of them, he's probably the most convincing ball player.
That's Haysbert's not bad. Yeah.
Dennis Haysbert's got he was in Mr. Baseball.
Yeah, but they don't show him a lot.
They don't.
I think he only show him like 2 at bats.
They show him with some at bats, like maybe once, and then they show him in the outfield a couple times.
Right.
Yeah, and
he was great.
I take slight offense to Goggins is the only one that comes out unscathed. Haysbert became president of the United States, Stan.
That's true. He did.
This is also our second Tom Barry movie in a row. He played Pops.
Yep.
Pops is the Bilkins in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Oh, God. I didn't make that connection. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Major League Back to the Minors from 1998 is directed by John Warren, who directed one movie before this, and that was it. The Curse of Inferno, starring Pauly Shore. I figured he must have just given up at this after this. It's like, fuck this, man.
Although that's a step up from Pauly Shore, I'd say.
Yeah, a movie that it's not even in the Army Now or Jury Duty. It's a movie I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Son-in-law, not even son-in-law.
It's the dregs of Pauly Shore.
Yeah. It stars Scott Bakula, Corbin Burnson, Dennis Haysbert, Takaki Ishibashi, Jensen Daggett, Eric Bruskouter, Walton Goggins, Ted McGinley, Kenny Johnson, Judson Mills, Lobo Sebastian, Tom Barry, Peter McKenzie, and Bob Euchre. IMDb score 4.6, and there is not a single review on Rotten Tomatoes, either audience or critic. There was literally no information about this movie in Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
For a movie that was released into theaters, there was absolutely nothing. No one's rated it. No one's commented on it. Just exists there.
Yeah, we're the only 3 people to ever see this movie.
Maybe.
The movie that Rotten Tomatoes forgot.
Budget of $18 million and box office $3.5 million. So
I would say that $18 million was probably mostly salary and partially getting the Twins license.
I'd say a lot of location shooting. So
yeah.
So that gets pricey. Crowds.
Yeah.
They probably didn't have a huge CG budget, so that's probably a lot of practical stuff. Probably the reason why they're in smaller stadiums.
And just one thing, and I'm interested to hear your guys' take on this because I'm under the impression that there is 0% chance that a good minor league team could beat a bad major league.
I think everybody gets lucky once. If you're saying they play 99 play 100 games and they win once out of 100, I could see it. You think
so?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get a pitcher that's on that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stars I'm not saying stars don't have to align. I think 100% they have to align. And it can't be Max Scherzer, pitching to AAA guys. It's got to be back of the rotation sort of guy that has an off day.
Like the Pirates.
Right. Guy can't find the strike zone and gets tagged in the first and gets chased out of the game in the first inning.
Yeah.
I would there's got to be like a computer program out there where if you put I don't know who the best AAA team is, but if you put the Orioles against that team and run a simulation, I wonder what the outcomes would be.
The fun part about AAA is that it's got a lot of older guys in it, more than young prospects. So there's like Doc. There's a lot of junk ballers and guys that like major league hitters haven't seen that kind of stuff since they were in the minors. So you could trip up some major league hitters that way. It's like always a factor when someone comes up for the first start, unless if they're absolutely terrible, like Ann said, missing their spot. They can cruise for a few innings because maybe they're throwing something the major leaguers aren't expecting. But it would be more on the offensive end. It would have to be like the worst pitcher on the worst major league team.
Yeah.
Starting.
I think because it's like baseball's a different monster in terms of all the other sports, right? Because it's a team game, but essentially it's 1v1 throughout the entire game. It's a pitcher versus a hitter. So, someone grooves a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, guy turns around on it. That's conceivable that happens. An NFL team, the worst NFL team is not going to lose to the best college team.
No.
They're going to destroy them. The best basketball team. I mean, we've seen, the best basketball players we've assembled as the USA, which is supposed to win. They haven't won every single Olympics ever. So, I mean, that it's the possible there. I could see, I could see it. But again, stars have to align.
Yeah,
you brought up. I was gonna say you brought up Doc. Mark, you brought up Doc.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me, you can't convince me otherwise that role wasn't written for Jim Gaffigan.
Definitely has some Jim Gaffigan in him, and I feel kind of like a kinship to Doc because I have a record of 7 innings pitched in my career of no hit ball because I can't throw faster than about like 45 miles per hour.
Did you tell your coach if did you ask him if he if you should go with the fast or the breaking stuff?
The off-speed stuff.
I think this was around this time. It might have been like I might have been 14 or 15, so it was probably like 99, 2000. So I want you to go to the off-speed stuff. Was talked about, yes, but 5 innings pitched of 1 hit ball. So
it's pretty good.
It's my pitching career.
I'd sign up for that every day.
Yeah.
I did like that one bit where Rube goes, I stole that from a police station and it doesn't register anything under 55.
You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us this week?
So if you listened to our last podcast, Too Fast and Too Furious, you'll know our special guest was Tia, and she has a podcast, The Top 10 with Tia. Go to geekvibesnation.com. Check it out. Search for Top 10 with Tia. Tia and her friend Brittany run down top 10 lists. So if that's something you like, please go give her a listen. Give her a follow. Let her know that you love her. She's a good friend of the podcast. Go check her out on Twitter at TC_Stark.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be back in a second.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Major League and back to the minors. We opened on some good old-fashioned minor league baseball action as a really old Scott Bakula is struggling to get through an inning as a pitcher for the Miracle. After an errant throw goes into the Miracle dugout, Bakula, who's playing Gus Cantrell, switches the live ball for a different one and heads back out. With no self-respecting umpire would allow it to happen in the game, with a ball that's just been gotten thrown into the dugout without expecting it. But again, this movie does not care about logic. But the play resumes. Play resumes, and the next pitch is a pop fly. But after the play, the umpire does come out to inspect the ball, and it turns out that Cantrell had a frozen ball and is promptly tossed from the game.
I
I
had
liked his response. Come on, I only have like 5 more outs or whatever it says.
I had written down that Rob Manfred would love Gus.
All the while, a suited Roger Dorn, played by Corbin Burnson, looks on. At a dive bar, Bakula has dinner and a beer as he soaks his arm. Dorn meets up with him. They sit down to have some drinks, and Gus talks about the woman he loves, Maggie, who happens to be the waitress at the bar. And they couldn't have found a better almost Ray Renuso if they tried. As they all leave the bar, Gus mentions to Dorn that he's retiring at the end of the season, which is great because Dorn just so happens to have a AAA minor league team in need of a manager. Again, just like cutting to the chase. I love it.
Yeah, it's
and for no reason,
perfect.
Yeah, and for no reason, Gus isn't sure about it, despite the fact that Maggie is the most supportive person of his new career.
I like that too. I had written down, I'm happy that the female lead is supportive of the main character. Because how often in sports movies do you get, I can't back you up on this. You need to be with, your family, or you need to be with me more. This is, blah, blah, blah. This is just, yeah, you could do this. Go for it. I love the line. Scott Bakula asks, well, what about us? She says, us will be here. Us isn't going anywhere. Like, yeah, there's a woman who gets it, I like that.
Yeah. We don't have time in this movie for this side drama.
Right. Yeah, we don't have time for Scott Bakula to chase not Rene Russo around.
Yeah.
A plot and maybe a little B plot.
There is A and then A minus plot, really.
Yeah.
But again, Gus says no, but agrees to go see a promising prospect with Dorn by the name of Downtown Anderson. So Gus,
does he not have a first name?
It's Billy.
Is it Billy? Because he's introduced as Downtown Anderson, and even on the Jumbotron, it's Downtown Anderson.
Yeah, it's Billy.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do it for Doc too. They just say it's Doc Waltner or whatever. No one has a first name apparently.
So Gus and Maggie go to the game, and on the line for concessions, Leonard Huff, an old acquaintance of Gus's, manager of the Minnesota Twins, and professional asshole, played by Ted McGinley, shows up. And immediately Huff starts swinging his dick around, paying for Gus's concessions, which is all of $4, and more or less tries to steal Maggie away from Gus. Dorn meets up with them, and the four of them watch Billy Downtown Anderson play, played by Walton Goggins, who would have been about 26 at the time. Whose swing is okay. He kind of falls into the zone a little bit on his back foot, but I've seen worse, though he has a terrible slide into second base on a double.
I think he was out in that play.
Yeah, he kind of bounces off the dirt.
Yeah,
too.
It looked like
did not look like
came off.
Does not look like fun.
No.
Looked like he took that like a hard ground or something like that, a little hard.
But they shot it well enough where you don't see the slide, you just see his face.
Yeah,
it's ambiguous. You can't tell if he's out or not. But I think he was out.
After the game, they all meet up with Downtown, and Huff says that he's going to call him up to the big team soon enough. He says big team so much it almost seems like they didn't have permission to say the Twins, even though you see the Twins logo quite a bit.
Yeah.
Downtown is pretty cocky, and after Gus downplays how good of a player Downtown is, Downtown gives Gus slight about how he traded away Gus's rookie cards back when he was a kid for a player to be named later. And Huff leaves, but not before he makes one last pass at Maggie. And Gus says that he thinks Huff is going to bring Downtown up too early, and Dorn says that's exactly why he needs him as a manager of the AAA team. So Gus says he'll take the weekend to think about it. So Gus and Maggie talk it over at the bar, and they decide it's the best decision for him and them. So Gus accepts the job, and he gets picked up at a small airport by Pops, a veteran player and team, and also the team mascot, and brought to the team clubhouse to meet the players.
Yeah, just to be clear, Pops isn't the team mascot.
Pops is not the team mascot.
No.
The bee is driving the cart, and Pops is there as well.
I was impressed with. I was watching this movie with Jen, and when they meet Pops, like, oh, he's really nice. He should be like the team captain, and he winds up becoming like the team captain. And then they show him playing outfield, like, oh, why don't they just stick him at first base? I was like, have you seen this movie and you're just fucking with me now? Because that's exactly what happens. Like, oh no, I didn't know that. Like, now's not the time, woman. All right, don't mess with me.
She secretly watched this movie like a dozen times before you.
She does the scouting, and she's like, oh man, I got to slip these in there and show them, like, I don't know what's going on, but she knows. She knows.
The first player they meet is a guy named Pear. What's his name? Lance Dance Pear, who does yoga. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Then he meets Hog Ellis, a surfer bro pitcher with one pitch. Then we get Rube Baker from Major League 2, who still has problems throwing at bases. Doc Wingate, a pitcher that seems more along the lines of a sabermetrics analyst and can only throw a changeup. Double play tandem set of twins, both named Juan Lopez. And then the game begins. And hey, here's Bob Euchre as Harry Doyle. I guess he got demoted for some reason.
Right. No explanation of what he's doing.
Oh, there is an explanation. So soon after the game goes terribly. Rube throws it into the stands. Pierre boots a ball at third, and the brothers Lopez get into a fist fight with each other over a ground ball up the middle. Then Doyle mentions games like this is how he wound up over-medicating, meaning he developed an alcohol addiction, which now the fact that he announces AAA games makes that much more sense.
I didn't realize that. I was wondering why they brought him down.
I was very intrigued throughout the movie of the rotating chair of color analysts with him.
Yeah. What's the point of that? And none of them offer anything special except for the guy who works with the twins.
Right.
Yeah, like, I don't know if they just, like, had one guy there one day, and then just another day they shot, that guy wasn't available, so they just put a second guy in there.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
they do switch it up for no known reason.
At the next practice, Gus ties the Lopezes to stakes in the ground and hits balls up the middle, so they start to understand the very basic skill of not hogging the ball. We also see scenes of Pops not being able to shag fly balls because he's too slow, and Doc's pitches don't come up on the radar gun because it's below 55 miles per hour. And he gives Lance an oven mitt to use for ground ball practice. Team gets on a bus into the next game, and on the ride, Gus tells Pops that he wants to turn him into a first baseman because he's too old, too fat, and too slow to be an outfielder.
Oh, Pop said he did one it straight.
Mm-hmm. And they stop at a diner for dinner, and downtown chats up a waitress as Doc has a maddening conversation with the waiter about the choices in salad dressings. Gus and Pops have a conversation about how Pops almost made it to the big leagues as an injury replacement, but due to a freak snowstorm, he never got to play.
So the anti-Wally Pip.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of injury is only a 2-day thing where you have to call up another player? How
Right.
often does that happen?
Yeah.
Usually they're out for... And I don't think there's such thing as a 2-day injury list.
Right. So, yeah, he probably, I mean, I guess they could have done some, shuffling of the lineup. Oh, this guy needs to go to the DL. This other guy needs to go to the DL, so we'll bring up somebody to replace him or something like that.
Right.
But again, this movie doesn't care about those details.
Which is, it's like equal parts weird and equal parts refreshing.
Yeah. It's funny because, we haven't seen Downtown as a member of the Buzz at all yet. But he's there.
Right. I thought he had already gone to the Twins at that point. I had forgotten that he was still part of the Buzz.
He's in the diner, but we haven't seen him yet as a Buzz player.
Yeah, and the one fun thing about having a lot of knowledge of baseball watching this movie is the fact that there was no reason for Pops to even need to be on a plane since it was in October. So technically the rosters would have expanded.
Yeah,
Sure.
probably right, because it's playoffs by at that time.
Yeah, or the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm. At the next game, Pops has made the move to first base, but on the only stretch we see him make, his legs stiff out on him. He has to be carted off the field. Meanwhile, Downtown ignores a sacrifice call by Gus and blasts a 2-run home run, which winds up winning the game for the Buzz. I'm on Downtown's side on this.
Yeah.
Now, why are you on his side?
Because he's the best player on the team, and you're going to a meaningless sacrifice bunt. We don't know if Downtown could lay down a bunt. Most players can't. It's a huge assumption that he can.
Right, he absolutely can't. This was basically just a test to see if he is coachable, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's sacrificing his best hitter just to show that, I'm in charge here. It's a pissing contest, essentially.
Yeah. I think it's too small time. It's too small time of a move. I'm going to have my what's the risk of the reward they don't add up for making your best hitter bunt in that situation.
Again, he Downtown is suited for today's baseball for sure.
Yeah,
he's strictly a pull power hitter. That's all anyone wants.
He's going to strike out and he's going to hit home runs.
Yep.
Mash some dingers.
Mash some dingers. Exactly. You want to see me bunt or you want to see me mash some dingers?
Dingers. But Gus isn't happy about Downtown's selfish play, so he decides he's going to bench Downtown as a response for him ignoring the bunt call for 3 games, which seems excessive.
Again, I'm sorry to bring this up again, after he didn't lay the bunt down, Jen says, he should be benched for 3 games. At this point, it's witchcraft, right?
Maybe Jen has a calling to be a AAA manager.
Maybe like, this is what I would have done. I'm not putting up with downtown's crap. I'm telling you that much right now.
She just sends emails to AAA managers after watching the games. Like, I have some notes. Here's what I would have done.
Right. Hey, listen, if that's a skill that I'm unaware of, that would make me love her even more. Like, sweetheart, you're a baseball savant. Why did you not tell me this? Like, oh, I dabble in it. It's not really my thing. It's more of my side thing.
Did she suggest at the end that downtown should have bunted too? Lay down the squeeze.
She had stopped watching at that point, but she was still very interested in it. She was like, yeah, what's going on down there? Like, oh, they just brought Doc in to face Liston. Oh, okay. Is he throwing all the junk stuff? Like, yeah, that's all he has. Oh, okay. So she was invested in this movie.
Yeah. The next day at the stadium, Doc talks to Gus about Rube's problems with throwing and that it might be due to some past trauma with a Little League coach. So he tells him to treat Rube with kindness. Then we got a taking care of business montage as the player hit practice. I can't believe that they paid for it.
I was going to say, that's where the rest of the money went.
Yeah.
Pop starts working out with Lance in order to limber him up more. And Gus is trying to teach Downtown how to hit rather than just rely on his natural talent. And finally, he tells Rube that if he continues to overthrow the bases, he's cutting him, doing the opposite of what Doc told him to do. Then, as Downtown is taking some BP, Gus looks to the sky and asks God to send him one real baseball player. Then, like an idiot, he turns his back on the batter, which is what you do not do, and gets knocked out by a line drive to the back of the head. And he's woken up by some smelling salts administered by Pedro Serrano, played by Dennis Haysbert. The changes we got.
Who apparently is on this team, or
yeah, he just shows up, right? He just goes, "Hey, listen, I'm going to play AAA ball now."
Yep.
Is Roger Dorn just calling his former teammates up?
Oh, and you know what the problem is with Pedro joining and like the other guys joining? They're taking away from younger guys playing time. There are kids who still have the dream to make it to the majors, and now here's 45-year-old Pedro Serrano,
former AL champion.
It's funny because they have like a line from Euchre, which is not much more than just, yeah, if he just showed up. It's like something like Pedro Serrano coming back from finding whatever the hell he was looking for. It's more or less like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Euchre does have some decent lines. He's obviously not at the same clip as Major League 1 and 2, but he has some decent lines here.
Yeah, there's my favorite line is one later on in the final game with when Hogg, now has the second pitch, and he goes, Hogg throwing his secret or special pitch, and the other guy goes, it's a curveball.
Also known as a curveball.
Some would call it a curveball.
I would say my favorite line from Euchre is there's a fly ball to left field. Oh, the wind's gonna take this one. It's out of here. We're in a dome. There is no wind.
Sorry for having an opinion.
Right, an opinion. It was pretty good. He had some decent lines.
Yeah. The changes in the buzz are immediate, and the team manages to win 3 games in a row. And on the bus one day, Gus sees a mini golf place called Taka's and just assumes that it's owned by Taka Tanaka from Major League 2. And amazingly, it is Tanaka. So they stop by, and Tanaka talks about how difficult it is to be a small business owner and that he could really use a vacation. So they recruit him to the team, and they just continue to win. That's how we get this guy into it. So much so that they're now in second place.
And he picks up baseball like it's like he never left, right? Because the next scene is him at bat, a single to right center field. Like, oh yeah, it's like riding a bike. When's the last time this guy looked at live pitching? We have no idea.
Well, he does have those batting cages.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, he's staying limber.
So they're in second place, and the same can't be said for the Twins, who are struggling, despite Huff's encouraging words to his team. Dorn, who I guess is like the GM of this team, which I don't think they officially ever say what Dorn's position is, watches the Twins in disgust.
Quick question for you guys.
Yeah.
Why does Huff not wear a hat?
Because he's got amazing hair.
Like, he's got great hair, but was that a part of was that a character choice that he made, or was that in the script, do you think?
Well, you hire Ted McGinley. Part of why you're hiring him is that sweet head of hair.
Yeah, it is a nice head of hair, for sure, but it's so out of place with everybody else. Everyone else wears a goddamn hat.
He looks like the least baseball player of anybody in the movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
He definitely doesn't look like a manager, and he has nothing to do with baseball.
Yeah. I feel like this is a role that could have went to Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin.
That would have been a good one. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I like Ted McGinley in this movie. It's silly. He's almost in a different movie than everybody else is. This movie is silly, but he's really hamming it up. He's really chewing scenery.
In his head, he may have been in a different movie.
Right.
Yeah, in like the last game, he's wild, and in the scene in Dorn's office when he's watching the news report, he's in completely different state of mind.
I did say that. I said that.
He's an idiot.
He's stupid. Breaking the general manager's TV. Christ, he could have just turned it off. I love that line. He's like, yeah, I'm glad he said that. Because usually in a movie, it'll just be like, the guy smashes something in frustration and it's just like, okay, maybe they're scared or they don't say anything. Like, oh, come on, man, that's my TV.
So Dorn is watching in disgust, so he decides to fly Gus and Maggie up on his private jet and puts them in a suite so he can wine and dine Gus. I don't really understand why he brings Gus up. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's really no reason. But in Dorn's box, he talks about the problems with the team, including a hitter that is obsessed with himself, an outfielder that wants to be a male model, and some infielders that are worried about shoe deals. Then we watch the center fielder collide with the second baseman, which looks intentional from all I can tell.
Yeah.
He like lowers his shoulder. They go to dinner with Huff, and Huff talks about how what they need is a middle reliever.
He calls it a short reliever.
Yeah.
Doesn't he say it's short reliever?
Yeah, he says, short reliever. Again, proving he has no clue what movie he's in.
But Gus tells him that his whole team is full of individuals, not teammates. So Huff tells him he doesn't know what he's talking about. So Gus takes that as a challenge, telling Huff that the Buzz will take on the Twins anytime, anywhere. Huff scoffs at the idea. What was that?
I said, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Huff scoffs at the idea and pokes Gus in the chest. Not once, not twice, but thrice. So Gus and Huff then get into a fist fight right in the middle of the restaurant as Gus gets the better of Huff, getting a solid punch right in the face. The next morning, Dorn calls Gus to breakfast, announces he wants the Buzz to take on the Twins in an exhibition. Gus is skeptical, but once Dorn starts telling him that Huff thought he'd back out of the game, he's a little more receptive to the idea and says he'll talk it over to a team.
Do you think...
I did like the idea of the entire restaurant being on the Buzz's side.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I was like, no way anyone in that restaurant knows who the Buzz are.
Yeah, I think... So what I understood was that was the same restaurant that they had the fight, and everybody just hates Huff.
That's what I had written down. Why is everyone giving him the side look, like that side eye? It's a totally different restaurant.
I thought it was the same one.
I thought it looked different, but I could be wrong.
But it would make local news that the manager of the Twins in Minnesota or in Minneapolis just got into a fist fight with somebody else in a restaurant. So it is reasonable that the news would have traveled super quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, the newspaper, the headline with, they're going to play the Buzz. Like, man, that was really fast. They must have done it immediately after dinner.
Yeah. But there's also there's nothing for the Buzz to lose.
Oh, yeah.
So
all the pressure is on the Twins.
Yeah. Twins have to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can't let that happen. You would have to trade all your players or just send them all down.
Yeah. We then cut forward and the decision has been made as the Buzz make it to Minnesota to take on the team. We cut to the Twins clubhouse and we get our first meeting with Carlos Liston, the cleanup hitter who also might be a psychopath, as he discusses the religion of Carlos Liston and chases reporters out of the clubhouse with a baseball bat.
Did you guys think he was intimidating at all?
No,
right?
Not to make fun of people with speech impediments, but his lisp is something that super detracts from his menacing persona.
I just thought his dialogue in general was not scary. I was more intimidated by Jack Parkman because
he's also doesn't seem very tall either. Not to say that short kings can't be intimidating.
Watch your mouth, goddammit. No, yeah, the whole thing was he didn't really exude a type of fierceness that they were trying to portray him as having.
Right.
Like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. He didn't seem crazy. It's all right. So he threatened a bunch of reporters. Okay, well, he's just a dickhead. but like Jack Parkman was like he had that swagger and R.I.P. Scott
He did
Hall.
his little shimmy.
Yeah, that
little
machismo.
shimmy that made all the ladies in Cleveland puke.
Well, at first it was swoon, then puke.
Yeah,
yeah, and then they had the guy on the Yankees in the first movie. It was like they had him who was just like this big fat bruiser, and the Duke who threw at his own son at a father-son baseball game. So like you had those guys who seemed intimidating, and then Carlos Listen is just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, all right, he speaks mean, but he doesn't sound very mean.
He then meets the entire Buzz team, snaps his bat over his knee, and walks away, which makes Hog Ellis nervous as he is slated to pitch against him.
Yeah, a little moment in this that I don't know if you guys noticed, maybe you did, but I thought it was pretty cool just knowing the history of the movie, that when they walk out onto the field, just seeing in the background, you see Serrano and Rube sort of like high five, like, because they were probably the two people there that had been in the majors before.
And Tanaka.
You know, well, yeah, but in this little scene, it was just them two alone. And I don't know if it was something, you know, something was shot that they cut of them going like, we're back or something like that. Right. But just the zoomed out camera and them high five. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Two guys that got sent back down to the minors are back in a major league stadium. They would be pretty excited.
Well, Serrano just decided to go back to the minors.
Yeah.
he just up and decided, yeah, I'm going to go play again.
Yeah. I like seeing the baggie at the Metrodome.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was called. I thought it was the Metrodome, but yeah, that was I was hoping it would have like property of the New York Yankees somewhere on there. But unfortunately, I didn't see that. So what are you going to do?
Jeez. Okay. So the game starts and the Buzz hold their own for a while. Twins scrape a couple of runs together, but by some borderline cheap plays. And then Carlos Liston comes up to bat, and Ruben pops, tell Hog to brush Carlos off the plate. So he does, and Carlos makes his way up to the mound to threaten Hog, and none of his teammates come to help him.
Bad
Where
teammates.
is Rube on this one?
Bad teammates. I mean, they're telling Pops is telling him, hey, just run for it after. Like, so why am I going to throw at him if you guys aren't going to have my back?
Yeah, Rube's got to jump out.
Yeah.
That's as the catcher, he's got to do that.
Yeah, you got to defend your guy.
Yeah. So Hog basically shits his pants and grooves one right down the middle, which Carlos sends over the left center field wall. Eventually, the Buzz tie it up via a home run by Downtown, and we're treated to, sincerely, some of the worst CG and green screens I've ever been a witness to. Apparently, they just took some old scenes from previous movies and CG'd the background to look like the Minnesota Stadium. So tie game in the ninth inning. Hog gets relieved by Doc as Liston comes up to the plate, now going from all fastballs to all off speed, and Liston can't make the adjustment. So in an act of desperation, Huff calls up to the maintenance crew and has them kill the lights as the 0-2 pitch comes in and the game is called in a tie.
I love how I wasn't aware a manager has the power over the stadium crew, like a direct line to the grounds crew. And
that's not a dugout. It's not a dugout phone. It's an all-purpose phone. It's an outside line.
Yeah, he could just call anyone apparently in the stadium.
Yeah.
and again, like, does he, like Anthony was saying at the beginning, just throw knowledge of what actually happens in sports out the window? Because this guy just has complete power over the entire Twins organization, apparently. He's the fucking manager. He's the manager. Mm-hmm. All he has to do is set the goddamn lineup. That's all he has to do.
And not a very good one.
Right.
Yeah, he's not good. His players don't seem to respect him. And he's got like just free reign.
Yeah, and I doubt he was ever a player.
Right.
And
I guess he must have been, because him and Gus have history. So I'm assuming in terms of the backstory, he's a former player.
He says nothing that sounds like he would have known baseball, right?
No, and no one makes mention of anything like, in terms of like his actual playing days. But
right, and that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, maybe they would talk about like their history, like they played on a team together, like you were saying, and that's where the bad blood comes from. They never really explained the bad blood.
Nope.
Huff
it just exists.
Yeah, he's just a douche, and that's why I don't like this guy. Like maybe he took my spot, or we had some disagreement over something. Make something up at least, because now, but again, not enough time really, I guess.
Yep. Regardless of the dubious end, the Buzz celebrate at night at a bar with Serrano and Tanaka singing on stage, Pops and Rube playing pool, and Hog talking up some random Minnesota bar tale. Dorn and Gus have a meeting, and after reading the newspaper story about the game, Dorn tells Gus that they're going to bring up downtown at the behest of Huff. Gus protests, saying downtown's not ready yet, but ultimately it's Huff's decision. So the rest of the team piles on the bus, leaving downtown behind in Minnesota. In a last-ditch effort, Gus asks downtown to tell Huff that he needs 4 more weeks in AAA to work on a few things.
The absolute worst idea ever.
Right? Yeah. Also, like, downtown doesn't have like an apartment that he needs to sublet at all, or he's just leaving all his shit wherever the fuck the Buzz play. He's just there in Minnesota now.
They'll figure it out.
Not that you really care, but I think it's South Carolina, because I think that's what it says on the airport thing. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, someone will pack up my stuff and send it to me.
Someone will come and get
Again,
me.
doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter.
That's how I guess they just think what happens with professional athletes. Just someone will get my stuff. Someone will come and get me.
Yeah. So downtown feels this is a slight from Gus, telling him that he's just jealous of him and the talent that he has, and he tells him he doesn't need him anymore. So without downtown, the Buzz fall into a funk, losing a few games on an extended road trip. After a loss, Gus asks the team what's up, and Hog tells them that he tells him they feel like they can't win without downtown. So Gus rallies the troops, telling them that the game is bigger than one player, that they should be focusing on teamwork and helping each other out. So on the bus, Doc starts teaching Hog about the physics of a curveball, and it works. In his next appearance, Hog successfully throws a curveball for the first time in his career. Meanwhile, downtown is struggling in the majors. But the Buzz start winning again, winds up winning 7 of their last 10 games. After a victory, the team comes into the clubhouse celebrating, and downtown is waiting in Gus's office, having already been sent back down to AAA. This is 2 different scenes of about like 3 scenes in between where downtown wasn't on the team.
Yeah, the argument and then the heart-to-heart within like 10 minutes.
Perfect. Such efficient filmmaking.
Now, do you think it was Huff's decision to send him down, or was it downtown's decision?
It must have been Huff. Huff makes all the decisions.
The way that I viewed that scene was he decided to come back. Like, I couldn't cut it, so I came back.
No, I think he was sent down.
Okay.
Couldn't hack it. Couldn't cut the mustard, as he said.
3 for 15 at the plate, they said. I mean, that's not great, but it's also he's not hitless.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also like, what is that? Is that 4 games? Roughly?
Yeah, probably, right?
4 to 5 games.
Yeah. They'll give you more of a shot than that, especially after you put up a show against that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we figured out what his problem is. He was trying to cut mustard, and
there you go.
I don't think that worked.
Yeah. So he apologized to Gus and tells him they started throwing him outside and he couldn't hack it. So Gus tells downtown it's something that they can't fix. He just needs to work. So we get another practice montage. We got guys working with Lance on some ballet poses. Serrano and Tanaka try to teach Rube how to catch a baseball blindfolded. It does not go well. And downtown is working on hitting the ball to all fields.
Yeah, that scene with Rube has like no payoff.
Yeah, just hitting the head.
Outside of introducing the hood.
Yeah.
You know, the blackout things that they wear the next 2 times they come to the plate. That's the only thing that scene introduces.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate them bringing those guys back. It's fun to see them. But they have nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
No.
It's I guess it's like quote unquote fan service.
It is. I mean, that Jobu moment is 100% fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make the fans pop, right? What they say.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I stood up and cheered when Jobu came back.
That was a cheer moment.
That should have won the cheer moment.
How did Jobu popping up in this movie not win cheer moment?
Well, because
I don't know.
The devil works harder. That's why.
And it works. Downtown starts to become a more well-rounded hitter, and the Buzz keep on winning. After a victory, Gus is interviewed by a local news team, as the Buzz are now at first place team. The reporter eggs on the rivalry between Gus and Huff, talking about how Huff said downtown doesn't have what it takes to be a major leaguer. So Gus issues a challenge to Huff, saying he would put his year's salary on the line to play the Twins again, and if Huff puts his position on the line. But this time, Gus wants to play on the Buzz home field. Huff watches this whole interview from Dorn's office and then smashes the TV with a bat. But Dorn tells him that if he doesn't take the challenge, everyone's going to be calling him a coward. So the game is on.
What does he care
and the
though?
Twins arrive.
He's already not respected.
Yeah, right. It's like I don't have to do anything.
Right. I'm the manager.
you.
I run the Twins essentially. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. So the game is on, and the Twins arrive at Buzz Stadium, and Jobu, or Jopu, depending on the closed captioning, make an appearance. Gus gives a speech, which is less inspiring and more, let's go embarrass this big league team, and the game begins. Gus and Huff turn in the lineup cards and shake hands, and Gus asks Huff where he got his toupee, which makes Huff look like an idiot as he pulls his hair to a ridiculous sight. Game begins, and the Twins jump out to an early 3-0 lead thanks to a double by Carlos Liston. But the Buzz inch their way back into the game, and it's 4-3 by the top of the ninth. Huff gets progressively drunker, maybe, throughout the game, as he just kind of goes off the deep end.
Yeah. McGintley gets progressively drunker as the show goes on.
Maybe. So Liston comes to the plate with runners on and hits 2 very long foul balls. So Gus comes out to the mound to calm down Hogg and gives Hogg the option to walk Liston, but Hogg says he wants to brush him off the plate. So the next pitch, he throws high and tight, and Liston hits the deck and then approaches the mound. But Hogg tells him to stop and vaguely threatens to throw a fastball point blank at Liston's head if he comes any closer. Liston thinks about it, then goes back to the batter's box and strikes out on a curveball. And we have bottom of the ninth. Tanaka gets a base hit to lead off, and Downtown comes up. Before the at-bat, Downtown comes back to Gus and asks if he wants him to sacrifice and move Tanaka into scoring position.
Call back.
Yep. It's also interesting that this game ends not with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. This is Tanaka led off the inning, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like I said, there was no drama.
Yeah, but Gus tells him he wants to go downtown, and he wants him to put it in another zip code, as he said.
Fair.
So he goes up to the plate.
God damn it. He does say he gets 2 strikes on him.
Yep.
All right, real quick. I'm terrified to say to be fair now. So, I'm begging you guys, begging you. Please do not do that. Do that to me.
Hat in hand.
Yes, I am. I am a broken man, and I need you to not do that anymore because I say it more often than I think I say it.
Oh man.
That's why.
Okay.
If you listen back, when I say to be fair, you'll hear me say "God damn it." It wasn't towards Anthony talking or anything. It was me having that Pavlov's dog moment. Like, oh my God, he's gonna say it. And yeah, I'm a broken man. So I implore you, please. This is
what were you gonna say?
Downtown gets 2 strikes on him, so there is a little bit of drama, just a tad. Yes. But again, it would have been 1 out if he doesn't get it.
Right.
So,
but the drama of the movie is that Downtown needs to prove that he can hit pitching from the major level. Right.
Yeah.
It's that if Pedro Serrano comes up and wins the game, it's kind of anticlimactic.
Although it would have been just as fun because I like Pedro.
Yeah, absolutely. So he goes up to the plate and swings through the first pitch, then fouls off pitch number 2. Then he takes a third pitch deep and wins the game on a walk-off home run. And everyone celebrates. Go ahead.
The entire time, Huff is alienating a player who might be in their organization at one point again. Right?
Yeah.
He's making fun of him. He hits the pop-up, and he's like, Huff is like, oh, I got it. I got it. How on earth are you a coach of anything? You shouldn't even coach a Little League team the way you act.
It's so funny because Huff at the beginning of this movie is such a completely different Huff by the end of this movie, and there's no reason for it.
Right at the beginning, he's trying to be slick and I'm the big league manager, and then towards the end, he's just a bully.
He's kind of just a buffoon, really. Everyone celebrates Huff, bemoans, and he now lost his job and is now a buzz. The airport. At the airport, Dorn says a deal's a deal and Twin's job is his if Gus wants it, which I'm not sure if that's really how it works. I guess you could just outright fire Huff. But Gus says that there's more good he can do as a minor league manager than a major league manager. And then he and Maggie are off on a honeymoon, leaving Dorn there at the airport. And that's how Major League Back to the Minors ends, with a pretty great song about the call from the cheap seats, which is just kind of wraps up this feeling of minor league teams like in a nice little bow. I had a lot more fun with this movie. I mean, obviously I've seen this before and you guys have seen this before. I thought I was going to come and just going to hate it because I haven't seen this in maybe 20 years, close to 20 years. But I had a good time with it. It's fun. It's not anywhere close to as good as the first 2, but if the fact that it's called Major League means that we get to see Pedro Serrano, Tanaka, and Rube again, then you know what? I'll take that.
Well said. I agree 100%. I think I had more fun with it this time around, knowing what the purpose of the watch was. Because every time I've watched it, I've just kind of had it on. This one was to analyze it a little bit, and I did find myself enjoying it more, and how silly it was, and how it didn't take itself seriously. It was here for a goofy sports movie.
Yeah, it's fascinating because like none of these most of these side characters do not have characteristics that are consistent. Like I mean, like Hog is like the surfer dude, but he has his moment at the end with like coming face to face with Carlos Liston, but like his characterization is not that he's a coward,
right?
And that becomes his whole storyline between him and Carlos, is that Carlos intimidates him. And then Lance is just there, like he's like, oh, he's ballet, and like he had a problem with fielding for a hot second, and that goes out the window,
right?
Because he gave him an oven mitt one practice.
Is it because they were trying to mirror the first, the first two major leagues, where in the first one they focus on Roger Dorn, who was a third baseman, and the pitcher. They focus on two pitchers, right? They have the older pitcher and Ricky Vaughn, and then they're focusing on. They focus on a good amount of players, but I wonder if that's why they went to the third baseman Lance, because we followed Dorn, so this is kind of a mirror. Maybe I don't know.
Sure. I think it probably has something to do with that. I think this movie, obviously, like it wants to bring those elements of the first couple of movies, but it's got a different plan. Like obviously, most of the story is the rivalry between Scott Bakula and Ted McGinley, and I think that's the reason why we don't spend a lot of time on those pieces that are familiar from the first two movies. This is like, well, that's not really what this movie's about. It's about this. And we need to kind of create this motif that like the first two movies, but we're not really that concerned with it.
Yeah, and Euchre even makes a reference as that this movie's going to be different, because this was PG-13, and the other two are R, I believe.
The first one was, the second one was PG-13.
Okay. Oh, then it ruined my argument a little bit, because his reference that his favorite drink is Diet Coke was me thinking him making a reference that this wasn't an R-rated movie.
I think it goes back to the fact that he's now a minor league announcer because he has a drinking problem. He even says it on the bus when they go to Minnesota. He's like, I picked a hell of a decade to quit drinking or something like that.
Yeah, right when they're getting off to play the Twins.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot more fun than I thought I was going to have with this. So I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad this won. I'm sorry, Mark, that we are never, at least in the near future, we are never going to watch Summer Catch.
Freddie Prinze Jr. is dead to me.
There you go.
I had meant to bring up, did you just decide on the fly that we're retiring Summer Catch?
I made that announcement on the podcast that you missed, the Leprechaun episode.
Yeah,
because both Mark and I realized that this might be the fourth. I never went back and found how many times Summer Catch was in a poll, but it was about 4 times, let's say. So I said, no more. If it doesn't win, it's got to be retired, at least for the immediate future.
Yeah, I know it's at least 3, because the first 2 it was a joke that it fell into,
right. I think we did like summer movies or something like that. You picked Summer Catch. This. And then something else.
Yeah, they were back-to-back polls, and Summer Catch fit both criteria.
Yep. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this week. We got all new brand new episode next week. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, obviously you're listening to us if you're hearing it. I don't even know why I said that. Check out the socials and all that kind of good stuff. If you want to let us know any movies, reach out to us. All our socials are there. That's it. We got a great episode coming up next week, probably. I assume so. That's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Major League Back to the Minors was John Warren. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Lovecchio telling John Warren, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.